Good evening. Tonight we are here with our final installment for our West Virginia Farmers Market Association portion of our top transition to organic partnership program, which is funded through the USDA. I'm here tonight with our guests and our speakers through our whole program this session. We've got Mike and we've got Katie, and then we have Julie joining us tonight. She's been here for support the last couple sessions, and they are going to speak to how how growing organically has worked for them, what got them started, and how the journey is going so far, and how it's going, how they plan to move forward in the future. So I'll go ahead and start off with Mike and Katie, and you can kind of tell us how you got into growing organically and why you chose that for yourselves.
Would you like to go first? I think you should.
Yeah, so we, neither of us grew up farming or with any farming background, but got interested in agriculture living in Philadelphia, which has a really, I assume it still does, but at the time had a really prominent urban agricultural scene. And so eventually, through many twists and turns, when we decided to start our own farm, we originally we're actually not thinking of operating a certified organic farm. And you'll see a lot of farms that will say that they follow organic practices and stuff like that. And so that's what I had mostly done, and that's kind of what we thought we would do. But the more we talked to other farmers, the more that we found out the benefits. Honestly, we started off from a market benefit. The market benefits of being certified organic in the DC, we were close enough where we were really tapping into the DC market, but I'm sure this is true of many markets, that there tend to be a lot of farms that are following organic methods, but there's a lot less farms that are actually USDA certified organic. So we actually made the decision as a business decision, because it allowed us access to farmers markets, to much bigger, more prominent farmers markets much more quickly. We basically entered into the farmers market that we continued doing in the DC area for the entire length of our farm. We started with that market the first year because the need for certified organic vegetable farmers was strong enough that they just were always looking for that. And so that's definitely something that I would say, if somebody is considering becoming certified organic and they are already planning on basically farming organically, that I think that whatever effort and cost you have to put in to getting the actual certification is likely to be worth it, because it's just going to open up markets to you so much more than if you don't have the actual USDA certification.
That's a great point that you made there. The fact that you can get the certification, but there's also funding that Julie can speak to through TOP, but there's also many different programs through the USDA to help cover portions of the certification fees. And Julie, I want to make sure I mention too that if you want to chime in anywhere or maybe ask questions, we're kind of doing a round table type of thing. So feel free to chime in. But that was a great point that you made, that a lot of times people think when you decide to grow organically, it's a feel-good type of thing. It does feel good, but there is a business aspect. It's not always the cost, like you said, is worth it, because there's markets out there that you have access to being certified organic that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise. So that's a great point. That there is with the right markets, it is a viable and profitable way to grow. So Mike, you wanna carry on, kind of jump in?
Yeah, I mean, just to finish the thought of what you said, yeah, like we being certified organic gave us an edge, like, because we were moving to a new area. So we had been in Philly, had been very involved with stuff there. Katie had been farming. I'd been the produce department manager at a co-op grocery store, and so we had a lot of connections and so on there, but then moving to a new area where we really weren't a part of what was already established. We wanted to just do something that would set us apart rather than just some new farm that was just a couple. They didn't know who we were, they didn't know what we could do and so on. It just gave us that market edge. And I mean, that's what all the big corporations are doing too, like places like Target and Walmart bringing in organic. And then you have the big producers that are also producing organic. So like I said, I was more on the retail side of things. And I worked with local farmers that I would buy from and so on, and just learned a lot about food doing that. I did that for 8+ years, local food retail. Did a lot of home gardening as well, just for fun, and just was really wanted to learn all about everything, and it really helped with customer service. Like the more I knew, the better I could talk to shoppers and let them understand what was different about the products we were selling, local, organic, or even just local products that you weren't going to find in a regular grocery store. And then eventually Katie went and got trained how to do some proper farming, and then she started doing that in Philly. And we were just at a point where we wanted we're both sort of at a career change. We wanted to switch things up. Our kid was about 2 years old, 2 years old, and wanted to start our own business. And we moved closer to where Katie's parents were, in DC, and started our farm business there. And then I think, like Katie said, it was more of like a business decision at first, but then as we continued with it, I really enjoyed being part of that, and it felt like it really gave us something that we could hang our hat on. And you could talk to shoppers, but you have a huge range of shoppers who understand what organic means. Some people, they see it and they're like, oh, that's just gonna be more expensive. And then you have some people see it and they're like, oh, that means that it's better for, for whatever reason, no pesticides or something. So like a lot of people don't even have like the correct idea of what certified organic means. So you can only educate and talk to so many shoppers, and also you need to get them to come up to your stand. And so having that sign out there certainly helped. Yeah, it's how we wanted to grow anyway, so we figured we might as well put a stamp on it. And do the little extra bookkeeping and so on, but it's what we wanted to do, and we figured we might as well get the certification. And definitely Katie, with her experience at that point, she really was the one who took the lead on that. And yeah, just continued to be certified organic, like being certified organic. And I mean,
yeah, the thing is, once you become certified organic, to remain certified organic is not difficult. Like it's the initial phase, not that it's difficult to become initially, but the initial phase is when you're having to provide documentation that the land you're using hasn't had stuff on it for several years, and you're having to learn, make sure all the inputs you're using are approved. So I like the first maybe 3 years that we were running our farm that was certified organic, there was a lot of conversation between us and our certifier, who's Pennsylvania certified organic, where we were trying to figure things out. But once we got a few years in, we just kind of were doing the same thing. It's like it just became part of what we do. We knew what inputs we could use, and it just, I mean, it's not really much different than running a farm organically without the certification, except that we got this extra kind of like, it's almost like you're getting, I mean, to say free marketing, I guess isn't, but it's like, you're also getting this marketing by being certified organic, because we're able to put the label on there and everything like that. So, yeah, for us, it was just a good, and obviously that's just the thing of knowing your markets, but the markets that we were serving, that was a desirable thing. And we also started learning, it's like Mike was saying, where we became It's like we started out being like, okay, we're going to do this for a business decision, but we really became kind of like invested in the certification process, because you start to realize the things that when somebody says that they're like following organic standards, that really isn't, that's not the same as organic. The above and beyond that you go to as an organic farmer to make sure that the stuff you're doing falls within the rules is just not replicatable unless you have the oversight of the, you know, organic program. And that's something that we really then became, you know, much more passionate about being certified organic, despite the fact that we went into it kind of not realizing that we were really, that's, you know, how we were going to feel. Yeah. Now like Mike is an organic inspector. He goes out to farms and does inspections and
Speaking of just a couple things that you just said there in terms of it's easier to continue. Your organic systems plan is a living document. So once you have it, you know, established, you're kind of just building off of what you've already put in place in terms of your paperwork and your applications, your recertifications, and so on. So it's just this living document that exists. And, you know, the first couple of years you're making a lot of adjustments and tweaks to it and getting things just the way you want, figuring out your processes and your procedures and so on, and figuring out your land and your crops and your customers and so on, and just the environment that you're growing in. And once you kind of have that in place, after a couple of years, it really, you know,
you just run through it each year and make sure you're not changing anything. And it's not, and like what you were saying, Holly, with the cost share programs where, you know, you get, it's like what, up to 75% or a certain dollar
750 or 75%, whichever is
of your certification
lower.
cost back to you. Like that is
a USDA program.
You know, that's a huge thing that is definitely important to know about and take advantage of if you are pursuing organic certification.
And then, I wanted to say one last thing about it. There's, you know, extra record keeping that goes into being certified organic, and having worked in a more business, you know, retail environment, I'm very much of the opinion that if you're going to run your farm like a business where you're actually trying to make money doing it, that a lot of that record keeping is stuff that you should be doing anyway, tracking your sales, tracking your inventory, and so on. I think that those sort of those numbers are really important to help you guide your farm as a business.
Yeah, but I mean, we were able to use those records not just to provide to the certifier each year, but we were able to use them to look back and you know, like increase how much of something we were growing, decrease other things, cut things, add things based on the records we had of, you know, yields and sales and stuff like that. Like that is all was super important to, you know, not just to be certified organic, but just to us to run a successful business.
Yeah, and just tracking the seasonality of things, so you know when stuff's going to come on next year and so on. And maybe there's a time of your season where you realize, oh, we could maybe get some more crops in here and figure out another crop to add, you know, just to fill out your market table or whatever, however you're selling.
Great points. Now you mentioned getting to know your land, and you guys are kind of in a new situation for you guys. You've just recently moved. So how did you've grown organically here in West Virginia? You chose to move elsewhere. How did that affect your choices when it came to moving? If you continued to grow organically?
Yeah, so I mean, and this was the case too when we moved to West Virginia, that, you know, and this is something we've talked about in some of the previous webinars, but that you kind of have two choices when you move on to new land, or choices. It's not really a choice, but either the person who owns the land or the person you're buying the land from, or who previously used the land, is going to be able to provide you with a prior use document that says that they have not put anything that's not allowed under the National Organic Program on the land within the last like 7 years, I think it is.
Whoa.
Or you have a 3-year transition period. And so in the most recent move we made, well, some of the land that we're going to be utilizing where we live now, we had bought it already. So we've owned it for long enough that it's kind of, we don't have to deal with that because we have been the ones managing it.
3 years.
But however, when we moved to West Virginia, that was like it's like the weird things that you have to put into a sales contract. Instead of just being like, we need a home inspection, we had to say that the offer on the property was contingent on being able to get this prior land use agreement, because we knew we wanted to certify. And that just played a huge role into searching for property, even apart from the certification part. Looking for land that you can farm is a completely different ballgame. Probably the best advice we got, and this was from the same person who gave us the advice to be certified organic for the DC markets, was it's a government website that I think I talked about in one of the slides. It's Web Soil Survey. And that allows you to look up the soil type or types that are on the property, so you can make sure that it's suitable to growing or to whatever you're planning on doing on it. That is a essential tool, whether you're looking to buy or just to rent or whatever. Land is if you don't have soil that's deep enough, well drained enough, it's gonna make your life so much harder. So like that is a huge part of organic. It's like a huge part of organic is not trying to fix things. It's putting yourself in the best position from the start to be able to be growing stuff as healthy as possible with from the get-go. So definitely that was a huge thing in every move that we've made, is looking at the soil type of the property we're buying to make sure that it is actually going to be farmable and we'll be able to grow what we want on it. Yeah,
that website's through the USGS Geological Survey.
Wonderful.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for going through your journey and for doing this journey with us. We've had since January or March, we've been kind of going back and forth, and we've had our monthly calls. So thank you both, Katie Brownell and Mike Herbst, who's traveled around the state with me too, to do a couple in-person sessions. So Julie, why don't we talk about your journey with organic for the last part of our time?
Yeah, sure. So mine, agriculture. So I'm on family land. We've purchased my grandparents' farm, and so I grew up coming to this farm for Christmas and summer my whole life. But it wasn't until I moved here that I got interested in growing stuff myself. And so I guess my first career is geology. And so I was working as a geologist, and I was doing mostly environmental work. And I quit that paying job to do this. And I was also coming from a place, I knew that I wanted to grow sustainably, and then I kind of stumbled upon organic. And I think that was especially right for me because as an environmental geologist, I was looking at the results of soil samples and just seeing how things were pervasive and were in the soils after a long time. And so I didn't want to contribute to that, and I didn't want that to be the story of my family farm because of things that I was doing, and plus all that produce is going to end up on my table. But anyway, and then another reason why organic appealed to me is because I was coming from this like more like engineering and science side, where you want letters after your name, and oh, you can't do this unless you're this such and such specialist, and you have to have the the class and the PE, just all that stuff. And I really saw, especially since I had quit that job, and I really saw organic as a way to I guess make it legit, to get those letters after your farm name, and and participate in in an official program and things like that. And so when I first went through organic, I really, in West Virginia especially, I really felt like Lewis and Clark, exploring new territory. There was nobody really knew the regs or where to find it or exactly what it meant. And so I was kind of in a better place, I think, than a lot of people, because I was used to reading, like government documents and just, like that kind of dry stuff, with that sort of language in it. And so, it was still a slog. And I went through it, but, I'll say, I feel like, it has been a good move for me. It's helped me get, kind of get some funding and stuff for different projects. There's been a few projects that have come along where, they're only interested in me because of my organic status. And I really enjoy just sort of research and kind of nerdy, sciencey things like that. And so it's also allowed me to participate in a number of studies with universities and things like that. And they came looking for me. And I think I was, because I've been certified since '07. I want to say I was like one of the first 5 in West Virginia. Something.
I think so, because you are the go-to, like you need to know organic, somebody throws your name.
And then even that being said, just for my own place, I am in a little bit of a different situation because I'm not relying on my farming enterprises to pay the mortgage. So I think I would definitely still stay within organic, but I really just don't do inputs. And so that's one of the things that I enjoy doing is finding the workaround and and more sustainable and mechanical fixes and things like that for the problems. So even among the things that are allowable, I really don't use anything. Now, I think that if I needed to say, okay, this is going to pay the mortgage and keep my kids in shoes and stuff like that, I might change some things up, and not tolerate some of the losses and stuff that I do. But every year sharpen the saw a little bit. If I dropped my certification, I really would not change how I do things. I might do less paperwork.
Yeah.
I would absolutely do less paperwork. And even on the paperwork side, I don't really market my stuff as organic, and I don't label things organic just for, say, like my local farmers market and stuff like that. That is how I do things. But when, sometimes when my certifier comes around, I'll say, hey, these are the things that I am planning on marketing as organic. And so these are the things that I want to put on my certificate. And I also want to submit this seed list. So even though, I'm still growing that way and things like that, there is some flexibility just in, how you do and don't market stuff, even if you don't change the way you grow things.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of worked a crazy job the last few years, and so my, just my market attendance and just the things that I've grown, and then of course the drought, and all that stuff. And so, even though everything is grown the same way with the same practices, I don't get every item that I grow certified every time.
That's very interesting to know, and to note that you have options there. And as Mike said, everything is evergreen. Like you said, if you were to transition into farming is your only income, you would do things a little differently. And growing organically allows the changes to be made into your plans. to accommodate the lifestyle that you have at the moment. And you guys are actually on the spectrum of two different ways, because they were near very urban markets, and you're in the West Virginia markets where that's not as prevalent of an item sought out, and sometimes could be automatically assumed, oh, that's more expensive, just because it says organic, where people don't necessarily have the knowledge about organically grown products that they may in other areas. So now, Julie, what are your future goals looking forward, looking out into the future with your farm?
I have no desire to, to be a big farm. I don't want, a field full of employees, and I don't want large acreage. I want to like serve my very small local market, and I just want to do what I'm doing, but do it well. So, and that kind of goes back to, back to the same thing. Like, I'm not planning on putting my kids through college based on what comes out of, out of those fields. So it's just kind of a different approach. And that's sort of the same thing. Like, if I were looking to, increase my acreage, or maybe, rent some fields, or, I mean, I have another piece of property up the road that I have some access to, I can expand. It's just, that's just not the direction that I want to go. And I don't want to manage people. So
That's
I'm
completely
going to,
understandable.
right. So I'm going to stay at this level and increase whatever I can, within the capacity that I have. And I mean, I have added some things. I got a little, I do some like mushroom growing. I've got like little side hustles, I got some bees, and I got some mushrooms, and I'm putting in a bunch of apple trees and stuff right now. So it's like, I am expanding. And at some point I probably am gonna hire, some folks for like a particular harvest, or like, hey, come help me spin honey for a day, that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't want staff.
Can understand that. Having a lot of people to manage is a lot of work, and there's already a lot of plants to manage with the farm, and lots of things going on. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Julie, thank you. You are with Food and Farm Coalition right now, doing the transition to organic program. Food and Farm Coalition is going to continue that. Do you want to say anything about what's coming up there on your front?
Yeah, so I'll speak to TOP a little bit. TOPP, Transition to Organic Partnership Program. In a nutshell, there's really never been very much help for people who want to transition and like be legit certified USDA organic. And now with the TOP program, there is. So it's a free mentorship. It's a year. You can do 2 years worth of TOP. So you could, have 2 years of mentorship. There's no cost, and it comes with a $500 stipend that you can use for continuing education. So that's going to be for like a conference, a class, something along those lines. What I do like about TOP, I like the mentorship aspect, because you're going to be paired with someone who is already certified, and they're going to hold your hand through the process. And they'll help you fill out your paperwork, get your record keeping set up and decisions made, and kind of answer questions. You meet on your own schedule that you decide with your mentor, and the mentorship happens over Zoom. So there's not going to be expenses for travel, and then it's going to be at the time when you choose, and it's going to happen on your farm. So you're not going to have to be, leaving your farm and, using up valuable time and stuff like that. And then It's pretty flexible as far as your meeting schedule. So I know a lot of our partnerships this year have, slowed down in the summer and they're not meeting as frequently while everybody is at, crazy time. For another agricultural enterprise, like Maple, for example, their go time is going to be at a different time of year. And so they can kind of, maybe back off their schedule a little bit more and then ramp things back up when folks have time. So it's pretty flexible and there's help. Now I'll say there is an expectation at the end of TOP that you will apply for certification. So if this is something that a grower is already interested in, there's help there. Now that being said, I don't know that certification is right for every operation. And so just as somebody who's working with TOP, I'm not out to convince you for certification. I think growing organic is the best way. And so I do kind of like encourage people to, move towards organic and sustainability. But as far as certification goes, I'm not going to talk you into it, but I am here to help you and hook you up with a mentor if it's something that you're already wanting to do, or if you want to explore more. So you can call West Virginia Food and Farm Coalition and they'll send you to me. You can also go to the TOP website. It's a page on the USDA. So just enter USDA TOPP. It'll take you right there. Frequently asked questions and all that good stuff.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And as I said, Food and Farm Coalition is continuing through their TOP program. This is the last webinar for us. So again, I want to express our thanks to the USDA in the transition to organic partnership program, and to the Food and Farm Coalition for including us on this opportunity, to Mike and Katie for being our speakers all along the journey, and for Julie for coming on and supporting us and speaking and helping me with some events. And I got quite an education on vermiculture as Mike got to enjoy as well. So I am a certified worm farmer now. But it has been great working with all of you, and thank you all for the effort that you've put into the program over the last several months.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks, guys.